Welcome back, dear students. Today we will be learning the effect on demand curve when the income of a consumer changes for the normal goods as well as for inferior good. A change in the income causes the positive change in the demand for normal goods. On the other hand, it causes the negative change in the case of inferior goods. So demand curve of a given commodity is affected by change in income in case of both normal goods as well as inferior goods. So you please note that there is no change in the demand for necessary goods with the change in income or decrease with the change, that is increase or decrease in the income. Now let us see what are the necessary goods. For example, salt. It's a necessary good, and even if the income of a consumer increases or decreases, we are not going to change the intake of salt. Similarly is the case of medicines. Even if the income of a consumer rises, we don't demand for the medicines. So these are necessary goods. Hence we conclude that even if the income of a consumer changes, there will be no effect on the demand for necessary goods. On the other hand, in case of normal goods, the demand will have a positive relation with the income, and in case of inferior good, it will be the negative relation with the negative relation between the income of a consumer as well as the inferior good. Let's see the graph of this now. Change in income for the normal goods. This is increase in income. In case the income of a consumer changes, you can see on your screen. Look at the graph now. See, the income of a consumer changes, but price doesn't change. This is the price, and it's not changing at all. Even at the same price, when the demand curve is downward sloping and the income of a consumer increases, demand shifts rightwards. So new demand curve is D1 D1. This shows that in case of a normal good, the consumer will demand for more of a commodity even at the same price. This is increase in income. As the income rises, in case of a normal goods, quantity demanded will also increase, and it will cause a rightward shift of the demand curve even when the price remains same. This is the effect of increase in income on the normal goods. Now see what will happen if the decrease in income of a consumer takes place. Again the price is same. Now the income of a consumer changes and it decreases now. Previous quantity was Q, and now the quantity demanded is less in case of a normal good because the income of a consumer has decreased. This will bring a leftward shift of the demand curve, and the demand curve shifts from DD to D1 D1. So now we can conclude that in case of normal good, if the income of a consumer increases, even at the same price, the demand will increase. On the other hand, if the decrease of income of a consumer take place, it will decrease the demand of a normal good even at the same price. So this shifts the demand curve rightward with the increase in income and leftward with the decrease in income. Now let us see about the inferior good, change in income of a consumer with the inferior good. What will happen if the income of a consumer increases? With the increase in income, you can see on your screen, and let us assume that the inferior good we are assuming here is black and white TV as compared to the color TV. So demand curve of the inferior good, black and white TV in this case, will shift leftward even at the same price when the income of a consumer is increasing. See now, again the price is same, quantity demanded is OQ. This is the quantity demanded. When the income of a consumer increases, consumer will decrease the use of the inferior commodities, and even at the same price, this DD curve has shift downwards, that is leftwards, and the demand shifts from DD to D1 D1. This shows that in case of increase in income, the demand for inferior good, it decreases even at the same price, and the demand curve shifts leftward. Now let us see about the decrease in income. With the decrease in income of a consumer, that is consumer's income lowers down, he will start increasing the use of inferior product because he has less of income in hand now. So this leads to rightward shift of the demand curve even when the price remains same. See, price is same again here, but the income of a consumer has decreased. Now he has less money to spend, so he will start using inferior goods and the demand curve will shift from DD to D1, D1. You will be easily able to understand once you practice it yourself. Start making the graph. So this is rightward and leftward shift of the demand curve. You can just see rightward shift of the demand curve. When will this happen? We previously learned that in case of expansion and contraction in demand, that is related to the law of demand. When the price of a commodity changes, the expansion and contraction in demand take place. On the other hand, shift of the demand curve will take place due to these following reasons. Increase in the price of substitute goods. You can see on your screen. Increase in the price of substitute good, demand curve will shift rightward even at the same price. Decrease in the price of complementary goods, demand curve will shift rightward even at the same price. So this is not expansion and contraction in demand. We are assuming that price remains constant. Increase in income of normal goods. If the consumer's income increases, demand for normal good will shift rightwards. And if the income of the consumer decreases, demand for inferior goods will increase and the demand curve will shift rightwards. In case if the population increases, for example, you have 15-16 students in your class and it increases to 26-27, again the demand curve will shift rightward even at the same price. So this is also a factor affecting the demand curve. Changes in the taste of the consumer, preferences of the consumer, future expectations, this all leads to shift of the demand curve rightward even when the price remains same. So law of demand is not applicable here because law of demand assumed the price to be changing and the other factors constant. Shift of the demand curve will take place when price remains constant and the other factors which are visible on your screen, these keep on changing. Let's now see what happens when the demand curve, what are the reasons when the demand curve shifts leftward. See now, demand is declining here even at the same price. You can see on your screens price is the same again, but demand curve has shifted. Now why is this shifting? Because of the following reason. Decrease in the price of substitute good will shift the demand curve leftward. Increase in the price of complementary good, again shifting the demand curve leftward. Decrease in income of a consumer, demand for the normal good will decline. With the increase in income, demand for inferior goods, with the increase in income, demand for inferior goods will decline. If the population decreases, again the demand curve will shift downward, leftward, even at the same price. Taste and preferences of the consumer are not favorable for the commodity, again the demand curve will shift leftward. And future expectation leading to a leftward shift of the demand curve. This shows that even if the price remains same and the other factors they become active, in that case demand curves will shift leftward or rightward. So students, in this chapter now we are going to conclude. We learnt about the law of demand, we learnt about the shift of the demand curve, expansion and contraction of demand curve, and we learnt three kinds of demand. One is price demand, other is income demand, and third is the cross demand. Price demand is when we relate the price of a commodity with the demand. Price demand refers to the relationship between the price of a commodity assuming the other factors constant, and this is our law of demand which shifts the demand curve, which doesn't shift the demand curve but it brings the expansion and contraction in demand. On the other hand, income demand refers to the relation between the income of a consumer and quantity demanded of a consumer, assuming the other factors constant. So when other factors are constant, only the income of a consumer changes. Again, it will bring a change in the demand curve, which we learned just now in our examples above. And the cross demand, this is the topic which we covered yesterday. This is the demand of the relationship between the demand of a commodity and the prices of substitute goods and complementary goods, which are the related commodities, assuming the other factors constant. So these three types of demand you will be learning, understanding and practicing the graphs: price demand, income demand and cross demand. Keep practicing this chapter, the numericals given in your book, solved as well as unsolved. In case of any doubts, you can send a message on my personal number. Enjoy your vacations, and holidays homework will be sent to you. Plus, I'll be sending you one assignment also. Do practice that assignment. Thank you, everybody.